Okay, let me try that again since I'm recording now. So we are now ready for our keynote speaker. We have Stephen Polakowski here. He is the owner of Z-Tech LLC, and he is giving us some quad hacks using assistive technology at home and at work. So let me stop share there and then share.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody. All right, just a little more comfortable than I thought it was gonna be. Oh, hang on. All right. Oh, boy. We good? All right. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Steve Polakowski. As she said, I'm the owner of Z-Tech LLC, where we've been supplying and expanding technology to local businesses for the last 15 years. I've been in the IT world for over 25. This is my girlfriend, Jessie. She's been with me since I came home, gone through a lot of this process with me. She's going to be my clicker and teleprompter today. So let's get the injury stuff out of the way first. My 7-year anniversary of my injury is coming up in 3 days. I was a passenger in a car accident, resulting in a broke C1, spinal cord injury at C4, and a couple of collapsed lungs. After a few weeks in ICU, I spent 3 months in this building receiving therapy and a crash course on how my life was never going to be the same. I then checked into a nice year-long stay at a nursing home, receiving more rehab, trying to find a pathway to get back to some type of normal, back to the house that I had built and the business that I had started. During that time, I started controlling things by my voice. While still in the facility, I was able to control my cell phone, my room lights, and I created my own code that I was able to fully control my television. I made those systems work for me, and in my book, that was all easy. After 15 months, I made it home. I used innovative technology equipment with everything I could, so I could control the temperature in my house, the lighting throughout my house, my garage door, my cameras, TV. I could even open my front door by voice. I can control my computer with my eyes, my voice, or my lips running a joystick. Again, all those systems were easy to me. Dr. Wilson asked me to give a presentation and said I could do it on whatever I wanted, whatever I felt I needed to address. I started making a list and it got big quick. I've been working with some great groups of people who are trying to facilitate Metro with the ability to set people up with technology that fits their needs just as they do with a wheelchair or any other adaptive device when they go home. It's a necessity that I'm glad is finally being recognized here. But there's also a whole nother side to coming home. I have to manage medication, 24/7 support staff, Medicaid renewals, not only to mention I have a body that I don't know how it functions or doesn't function. All brand new situations to me. Today, I'm going to go over some of the systems that I've put in place that work for me in hopes that somebody else going through this situation can have a head start and expand on the things that I've done. All right, you ready, Jess? She's going to help me through this.
No. It was.
Do the right arrow.
There we go.
All right. So, brief overview of what I'm going to cover today. And the first thing I want to do is I need to stress how hard it is to get staff. I've gone through some of the meetings. I recognize some of the faces here, and it's always the same process over and over, same conversation over and over again. How it's hard to get staff, it's hard to find staff, it's hard to keep staff. Yeah, and that was my first Zoom meeting with everybody. That's what they were saying is, how do you have staff? Where did you get staff? I manage it like a business. And I want to go over how I use Google to cover some of that stuff. We've created guides as far as getting people through the sign-up system, and the templates I've created for doing their reviews or daily notes, things like that. I also use it for scheduling, everything about it, and my daily tasks. And then we're going to go over temperature regulation because that was quite an interesting issue too. You don't know how broke your body is until you're going through it. So let's get into the nightmare of staffing. Okay, so the problem with staffing, you go home and you're being guided by social workers. Luckily, I had an attorney, and Metro set me up with somebody who had previously gone through this. And I got to say, that had really given me the best guidance out of everything, because that was the path that he had taken. And they had showed me that other people could do this and that I needed to as well. I live at home on my own. I lived at home on my own, and that was my goal, was to go back home by myself. And I had everybody tell me that was possible with staffing. They said there was 3 main ways to get staff. You have your agency, your Medicaid independent provider, and also getting people signed up for yourself. Scott was a major help with me in this process, and he went through and said, you're going to end up getting most of your staff yourself in a relationship you've built. And that's exactly how I ended up. I started with an agency, and my biggest problem was I live in a rural area. There's nobody out there. The groups don't go out that far. And a couple agencies, yeah, I hear around the thing.
Yes.
And they make it sound easy that you're going to go home and you're going to have agency to be able to support you. And they were understaffed as well. The couple that were in my area basically giggled when I asked them if I could get somebody to come out 5 days a week to take care of a paralyzed person for X amount of hours a day. So you move on to the Medicaid Independent Provider list. I don't know if any of you have gone through that.
Yes.
We called 80 people some of the days, and some of those people on that list, the list is extremely outdated. They express that they've been trying for 2 years to get off that list, that they don't know why people keep calling them. Other people you talk to, and they're full. They don't need anybody, but that list doesn't update correctly as far as telling you that there should be things in that list where they can switch on and off if they're looking for help or if they're not. And then others, just their schedule doesn't line up with yours. So I ended up looking for independent providers myself. And just like I was told, you work on the relationships that you've built. And luckily I was in a facility for a year that I built good relationships with good people, and you need to be able to bring them into that system yourself. There's no clear designed path on how to get you set up, how to get somebody set up through Medicaid. They say there's a website, there's a guide and this and that, but it's very hard to navigate. It's a long drawn out sign up process, and you don't get paid until the end. So people don't really have an incentive to go over to that program. And I really feel like facilities try to keep that hidden so their staff stays where they're at and doesn't go out of their control. Okay, well, like I said, let's go on to the nightmare that is getting somebody signed up to Medicaid. Have any of you ever worked signing somebody up to be an independent provider? No? All right. Well, I have. I've got 4 or 5 that I've walked through this process. Well, this is good info. So the first thing they have to do is they have to sign up. They have their MPI number. They get signed up on Medicaid's website, which at that point you have 30 days to provide Medicaid with all their documentation they're looking for, which is what, Social Security, basic documentation, driver's license, got to have your first aid, all that stuff ready. And then they need to go through a background check. You have 30 days to have that information make its way to Medicaid, all completed on their website. If any of the documentation is not right, they don't follow through with something correctly, all that starts over. We've had the sheriff's department where you have to go get your background check, send the information to a wrong address. We've had Medicaid receive the information and not process it. Come to find out, it was sitting on the guy's next to him desk, and he didn't hand it over till day 31. They didn't care. They had to start the process all over again. So if you get all that information signed in correctly and set up, You then wait 30 days for an acceptance letter. You're 60 days out before, at best, you can have an employee then be added to your all service plan and start billing. I say start billing, but I don't mean starting to get paid. At that point, you then, like myself, I have an HMO. That's my insurance company that's actually cutting the check to the aides. I was through straight Medicaid for a short time, and then they make you pick an HMO. Every time you switch to HMO, it's all a different process. Your aides have to be credentialed through whichever HMO you're in. So keep that in mind. If you're with Buckeye or CareSource and you go to switch to United Healthcare, your aides all have to switch over to that as well. They have to get through that credentialing process. I would recommend, if you're thinking about switching, you have your aides get set up for the other one long before you actually make the switch. I made the switch one time and luckily wasn't, depending on aides through that, they wouldn't have been able to get paid. They would be able to bill, but they wouldn't be able to get paid. So that credentialing process that I talk about, even though you went through a background check, at day 60, you now start through your HMO. They have cut a check to one of my aides before, and then they knock out another check just out of the blue when we call in to figure out why. They say they're now going through their credentialing process. That process takes on average of 3 months. So you're at day 150 or month 5 before your aide can get a check. Yeah, it's rough. And then at that point now, like I said, you're looking for direct deposit. All I say down there is good luck. I have an aide that got signed up in February through this process. She got her first direct deposit check 3 weeks ago. They were finally correct. She's been trying nonstop. They had the wrong info in the system. We found out they had the wrong bank. She's supplied her information multiple times. So I wanted to stress that is the process of getting signed up for Medicaid, just so everybody understands why I've had to streamline this and make the system work for me. There's not a lot of staff out there, and you have to show them the way. Is there anybody that's got any questions on that part before I go into it? If you're looking to get signed up for independent providers yourself, how it goes? Yeah.
We're in the process right now of doing that. Like we have the MPI number. So
BTI, the background check. Go ahead.
What's that?
Okay, so we're in the process of me becoming his independent caregiver. So it's like a long process, but and getting a runaround as well when I contact someone there.
Yeah.
But and multiple different steps I have to do. But I had already done like the MPI number, the background check, but now they're requiring a letter, I guess, due to me not being already in the field of home health care. And I'm a medical assistant for Bombing. So one person I need to be certified, then somebody else will call and say I don't. So that's like that.
Certified as an STNA?
Yeah, like they said, STNA or someone have to write the letter stating that I was given the proper training.
I can't comment on that letter. I know that different HMOs will cut check, some only for an STNA and some whatever they consider a caregiver. I can't comment on what that actual letter is, but I know that's the whole process. It's a nightmare as far as having to have all that documentation land on Medicaid's desk at the same time your background checks, and you only have 30 days. Otherwise, it all starts all over again. As I go through this, I'll briefly touch on the guide that I have for the application, and afterwards I can get your info and we'll go along. But you got any comments?
Well, one of the aides that's currently working for him actually doesn't have her certification either. But as long as you've done, you know, if you have someone who's either your supervisor or someone who can write up a letter stating that you've done things along these lines, I think that that's acceptable.
But again, that letter and everything needs to be in there in 30 days or the process is wiped and you start all over.
Okay, I have another question. So I haven't submitted the actual application yet because I was told to do the NPI first, the background check and everything before I submit the application, because then you got some. Yeah.
As soon as you apply on Medicaid's website to be a Medicaid independent provider, that is when that 30 days starts ticking. Your MPI number, anybody can sign up to get a national provider
Okay.
number. That's easy. But it's when you start that process on Medicaid's website that 30 days starts ticking.
Okay.
There's a certain number that you have to assign the background check to. We had a problem with that right off the bat. As far as the sheriffs didn't know where to send the Medicaid or the background check to, and they sent it to the wrong department. Took us 60 days to figure that out. So all I could recommend is get your ducks in a row, talk to Medicaid ahead of time, find out exactly what they're gonna want before you start that process on the webpage. Anything else?
Yeah, I got a
Alright.
question.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
What's that?
Can you hear me?
Oh, hang on.
Oh,
It's up there.
okay, big idea.
Am I good?
Uh-oh. We got a mic.
All right, so I got a question. So I got a caregiver, right? So I can't have my caregiver become like my what you just said,
Oh, hang on one second. Why don't you hit the mute? On the Zoom. All right, hang on one second. Nope, he's coming in through that Zoom, huh?
Go ahead, try that one more time. John?
yo,
All right,
you can hear me?
yep.
All right, so what was the name of the provider again? Like what Medicaid medical what?
Medicaid Independent Provider.
Yeah,
That's-
okay. So I have a caregiver. Could I have my caregiver just be that so I don't have to go through like
An
a
agency.
company? Yeah, agency.
Well, it's a longer process. The aide has to do more legwork himself, but they do have a better pay rate generally. That's kind of the trade-off. I have one aide that's in school and doesn't want to deal with keeping all the paperwork straight and things like that, so she goes through an agency. But she does have a lower pay rate. Medicaid Independent Provider gives you more flexibility, things like that. But she would have to sign up through this whole process that I'm going over right now.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. We're good on that?
I'll say luckily we have a little bit of overlap there. You know, I think it's the next session. It's actually with a social worker that's going to talk a little bit more about some government programs. So if there's still some questions about this whole thing, you know, hopefully you can give a little bit more clarity.
All right, so that's where I want to go into where I use Google's cloud system to kind of keep all this stuff organized, make sure, like I said, the systems work for me. This is a system that we have set up through this time frame to kind of streamline that process. And then once you get an aide, how to keep an aide, how to keep everybody happy, how to keep everybody knowing what's going on. So I use Google Drive and I keep all this information on there. The application guide, like basically as we've had people go through this process, every time where they falter, where they're missing info, we add that to the guide. I keep that as a PDF. I have a guide for billing. I'll show that on the next screen. Some of the things that I've set up in order for my independent providers to be able to understand how they bill my HMO. The daily notes template. That was really important as Jess and others have gone through the reviews. The review person from Medicaid has pointed out things they didn't like, things they could do better, things they would like to see. We've gone through and we've modified those templates to basically help the nurses and the aides fill things out as easy as possible, as efficiently as possible, and what Medicaid's looking for, so they have the least problems. I keep my face sheet on there, all my medicine lists up to date. All this stuff's accessible to on a tablet in my kitchen for them to all reference. Anybody needs anything. I keep all my service plans on there. Every time you get a new worker, anybody changes on your staff, you get a new service plan. They're all at the end of the year required to have a service plan. Most of this info when the independent providers do the review. That's a once a year thing. I keep my caseworker, provider, advocate info on there in case anybody needs to get a hold of the caseworker. The provider advocate, that's who the aide works through my HMO or my insurance company to figure out about billing. I have my RN supervisor form. I have RN and LPN. LPNs have to be supervised by an RN. So that's even more paperwork that the RN supervisor fills out every 60 days and every 120 days. We figured out exactly what that needed, created a template. And again, then the 485 form for the doctor, again, is all saved on Google Drive. But there's a need for efficiency on all that, and that's what's over in the corner because it's easy to get overwhelmed if you don't have all that stuff and where it needs to be. So all centralized in Google Drive, they can access it from, I have it shared with all my workers as far as their Google. They can also access it in my kitchen on the tablet, print anything out they need. What I missed there, Jess? No? Good? All right.
You can be fired.
Yes. You had one job.
It's too much.
Swear, I run a technology company. All right. So this is an example of some of the templates that I've created. We've worked through, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but in the background there on the left, that is my nurse's form that she fills out every day when she's there. I worked with her, modified that to cover exactly what I have. My medicine list is on there. We don't want any problems sneaking up as far as both your aides and your nurses, if they're independent providers, have to do a yearly review. They want a section of notes. They'll name a 3-week period, and you have to have the notes that you had for every day in that period. Over in the back right, you'll see that is my notes for my aides. That's their daily task list. I know it's hard to see back there, but what we've done with those is we've gone through everything that my aides do throughout the day or throughout the weeks, not every day necessarily. And we've put it on one list. That's in an Excel spreadsheet that I then have turned into a PDF. They send out, they get a 2-copy with a 2-layer carbon copy that when they fill that out, they keep one at my house in a 3-ring binder. So again, we streamlined that in order to not miss anything and to appease Medicaid. That one in the front there, that's what I created as a PDF slideshow or a PowerPoint presentation, basically for my aides to be able to walk through and bill the HMO. It's a step-by-step guide with everything that they need to fill out, highlighted in a red circle. My info throughout, it explains how many hours they got to bill. I mean, it's a 14-page walkthrough that when my aides first start, they sit down with the tablet next to them and their laptop and they go through billing. That walks them through slide by slide how to fill out. Otherwise, they'd quit. I mean, there's no guide for it. It's really rough. So I almost titled this whole section, I've become the public library, because I have a printer, I have all the reference info. They hop on my network, they get what they need, they get it out. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. The pathway is too hard to be an independent provider without some kind of guide like this. Let's move on.
About 5 more minutes.
Okay. I use Google also for scheduling and tasks. I keep a complete schedule for my nurses and aides. All their tasks, daily and otherwise, are on there. Upcoming appointments, doctor's appointments, work appointments, and no coverage. Those are all shown on Google Calendar. And again, I have that on PC, tablet, cell phone. This is an example of my Google Calendar that is shared with everybody involved in my staff. It gives them reminders. I ask everybody to review this at the beginning of the month. I know that's kind of small, but you'll see it's all broke down for my different shifts throughout the day, coverage every day. You see that red square down there if I have no coverage for a day. My doctor's appointments are on there. And that shows them all their upcoming events. Everybody can see that. So this is creating a new calendar event. And I just wanted to go over a couple of the key points. You can schedule that however you want with repeating events. So sometimes you only have somebody coming out every 3 weeks. You can easily set that up in Google to remind you. The location is very beneficial. If I have a doctor's appointment, the location's set up in there ahead of time. We know what time we need to leave. We know where the traffic is. I click one button and it's heading there. What else I got on there? The notifications, I set that up for however I want. If I'm concerned that somebody's not going to be there, I can set them up for 3 notifications. If their phone dings a day out, an hour out, 10 minutes out, in case they're not going to be there. I've been there and they're not there. And the guests, I can add them on there. So if somebody else has to meet me somewhere, the location's already shared for them and they're able to get there. I also have another full sheet of tasks. That's really small, I know, for you guys, but basically that's a calendar laid out with all my tasks throughout the day. So whatever the aides are expected to have done that day, it's in a task list, broke out daily. We've gone through there and adjusted. If there's too many things on one day, there's not enough stuff on the other. We go through there, and over years, we've shifted it around to where every day is kind of full. I'm kind of rushing here to get through the rest of this. So like I said, I have a tablet in my kitchen that gives them access to the full calendar view. I have a widget on there in the middle that's the task list for the day. They can go over and see everything that's expected out of the day. And then they also, when they click on that task, have a detailed task list of what they can do. If somebody didn't do something right, that's not necessarily their fault. We just go back in and we edit the task in the detailed view, exactly how much water to use or how many scoops of Tide or whatever you expect. And over the years, we just go back and adjust that. And it's worked out pretty well to where now they have a reference point in the living room to know what's expected that day. They check those things off. Next staff gets in, they see what didn't get done unchecked. They can go through and work on that. We only got 5 minutes. I don't know if we should, we finished up there. Should I take questions on that? All right. You want to roll back to that next page or that last page? Yes. I know I just blew through that, but I think that's extremely valuable. Anybody that's in my situation, if I had this playbook when I went home, I would be way ahead. Like I said, everybody kind of gives you 10% of the knowledge you need on the way home. It's up to you to put that together. Anybody have any questions on all that?
I'd like to make a comment.
You'd like to make a comment?
I would. So I'm Steve's mom. So as Steve goes through this, what you have to realize is a lot of you are mobile and you're able to be up and about during the day. Steve spends his whole day during the week because he runs his business from his bed. So he has people in his home that come in and out that until he develops a relationship with them, he has no idea what they're doing out in the living room. So he put cameras in the house and you watch these people come in and they sit down and they make themselves a grilled cheese sandwich and a cup of tea and they sit out there and play games on their phone. So these things have all been developed because he's not able to say, hey, you missed that corner over there, or, something got spilled over there. Can you wipe it up? This allows his home to stay functional every day of the week.
It functions like a business. It's truly another job. I'm a staffing agency. That's really how it all goes. Yeah, I don't know if we got.
So question, so this is part of your business. So do you then sell this application or how does that work?
No, at this point, we're working with Metro to figure out more and more on how to bring this in. Like I said, if
It's brilliant. I just,
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've put a lot of work in this.
and I mean, it's just,
well,
Yes.
and it's not just me, my mom, Jess, everybody. Luckily, Jess worked at a facility and was a nurse, and we brought all that home. She helped with all the face sheets, the medication, all these things. And you bring a little bit of what a facility runs like in order to do that. But yeah, I mean, it is business. Yeah, and that's why I said I didn't want to glaze over any of it because I do it every day. But at this point, it's just, if something's not done, you need to go in there and you need to adjust your tasks or the days But the calendar has been super helpful. My mom reviews it. If somebody's not there, she knows you got an extra set of eyes looking at it. Cause there's been days where I've woke up and there was nobody there. Like I said, the very first day home, I woke up and an aide that was supposed to be there wasn't there. And you're laying there at 8 in the morning, your second day home after 15 months of being in a facility. I had braces on my hand. I couldn't turn my phone screen on to even call anybody. And I had to wait for somebody to call me to activate my phone screen so I could talk to it by voice. So I'm laying there for an hour on my first day home, and it hits home how real this is and how organized you have to be. I can't go a day where coverage isn't there. So this is what I've done. No, I don't sell it. I'm glad to help whoever. We're kind of fine tuning it more and more into a whole process. Going through this has showed me some of the things that I need to adjust, but I just keep every time, what do we need to adjust to make this go smoother next time? And this is what I've come up with over the last probably 5 years.
I was gonna say, every time someone new comes in to be signed up, you learn something new, and you're doing it together with them still.
Yeah.
Several times, because it's a process where you said, I want you to come work for me, but to get paid, you have to go get your independent provider, and you just kind of let them go. They wouldn't come back. They would go on that website and be like, are you?
Yeah, I've had almost nobody. I don't think we've had anybody that we have not helped through the process. Yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm glad to help anybody that needs it, wants it, reach out to me. It's one thing I forgot was info on there, but everybody here knows how to get a hold of me, so.
How do you get a hold of you? I don't know how.
I don't know. What should I do?
Yes, and we send out Stephen's contact information with his permission after the forum to everybody that's registered.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
If you don't see it from us, contact the United Spinal chapter and we can get you connected.
Yeah, I'm excited.
What was the name of it? I couldn't really hear.
We're gonna post the info on the website after the meeting, I guess.
My bad. All right.
No,
Yeah, everybody will get the replay link sent out, so we can include Stephen's contact information with that. If you don't see it or you need it before we get it out there, you can email the United Spinal chapter at unitedspinalneo@gmail.com and we can get you connected.
you have a question back there, sir?
Oh, yeah, you said that you're working with MetroHealth for a sort of like a modular transferable implementation of this cloud-based workflow or something like that?
I'm working with Metro right now. See Cameron back there. Different projects, and we're working on setting it up to where people can be fit with the right technology that they need, whether it's a light switch to turn on your lights or an ability to basically just a room to demo all the technology that might help somebody with spinal cord injury. And that's why I didn't even want to touch on that subject. There's so many more things to go into. As far as that, Dr. Wilson told me, he says, you'll find plenty to talk about.
Yeah, so the Assistive Technology Clinic, we recently got a grant to start, and students, lived experience consultant. I think it was going to be more technology consultant rather than caregivers and things, but.
Yeah, well, that's what, as you told me to pick what I wanted as I started going through the list. It really, like, this was probably the most important thing that if I had this going home, it would sure make things a lot easier. So again, anybody that's going home, and I would highly recommend they replay through this. That first sheet with the Google Drive, take a screenshot of that. Those are basically all the different documents that I have to keep track of and keep up to date. The technology is a whole nother piece of it as far as that, but I'm out of time.
So yeah, I think we'll break now. We're gonna be serving some lunch. Again, keep talking to the vendors. We're really happy that they're here working with us, and we'll restart at 12:30?
12:30.
I think for some reason,